Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about feats once again, those wonderful powers that players can use as an optional rule in their game, although most games use feats nowadays. Feats are something that you can choose at several points throughout your character's career. At levels 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19, you can choose to either bump your stats by 2, giving yourself better strength or wisdom or whatever, or you can choose a feat. Now, feats also bump stats a lot of the time, but they give you extra abilities that help you customize your character as well as optimize them for the kind of play you want to have. And today, we are talking about the Druid, that oh so special nature child of D&D. Druids are something. They are powerful in many ways, full casters, and their wild shape, allowing them to transform into animals, makes them such wonderful problem solvers. But what can we do to help shore up a druid's power by giving them specific feats? I've prepared a top 5 list on how we can do that. But before we get into that list, I'd like to let you know that Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can join the channel and support me here on YouTube. There's a join button just below the video. You get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know that you're a member, as well as earning you my undying gratitude. Thank you so much for watching the videos and supporting me here on YouTube. So, we're a druid and we're ready to take our first feat. What are we going to choose? Well, never a bad choice here. The mobile feat is, I think, a wonderful choice for a druid. It does a couple things. First of all, the mobile feat grants you a 10-foot movement speed. The 10-foot movement speed boost is wonderful because it translates to any other form you're going to take. If you're already transforming into a creature that can move fast, this just makes them even faster. And if you want to transform into a creature that can move slow, this actually makes them a little more respectable. It also gives you a bit of a niche power that if you're dashing, which is obviously a thing that anybody can do, you do not lose your movement speed across difficult terrain. So if you have to cross, rough terrain or muddy terrain or hard plants to travel through or whatever, difficult terrain, choosing to dash means you will not lose that movement speed. And then finally, when you are fighting a creature, if you make a melee attack against that creature, you then can move away from them without provoking opportunity attacks. This is effectively the disengage action, except all you have to do is attack someone. You don't even have to hit them. You just have to make an attack. If you swing and miss, you can still move away. In an interesting sense, what this is kind of like is like the flyby traits. There's a lot of bird animals and flying creatures in D&D, which a lot of druids can transform into. And when they fly near a creature, attack or do something, and then fly away, they don't provoke opportunity attacks. Well, this just means that you can run in, hit someone, or at least try, and run away without doing that. And you don't have to be a bird. You can be anything you want. This gives you a significant amount of mobility increase, and with the additional movement speed, any wild-shaped creature, or just any druid at all, would love to have this kind of freedom on the battlefield. So, what is it that druids love to do? Druids are essentially gishes, a gish being a spell sword. The idea is that most druids will lay down some kind of concentration effect, a concentration spell, because you can't cast spells while you're wild-shaped, but you can concentrate on them. And so you don't want to lose concentration on your pivotal spell while you're wild-shaped, because you can't cast it again without dropping out of wild shape. Enter the feat Resilient. Resilient just says, choose a stat, any of your 6 main stats. You get a +1 to that stat, and you get proficiency in the saving throw of that stat. For this one, we would choose Constitution. This means our Constitution gets buffed, meaning our baseline Druid hit points go up, and you would get proficiency in those saves, which are the saves you make when you are concentrating on a spell and you get hit. You have to make a concentration check, which is a Constitution saving throw. Now, the boost to the stat isn't huge for druids because when they're in wild shape, they take the physical stats of the beast they are in, but they retain their proficiency. So you can still add your proficiency bonus to your con checks while you are wild shaped, and that's massive, meaning that whatever spell you've got out, moonbeam, spike growth, whatever, you can maintain your concentration easier. And that's huge. Another thing that druids love while they're wild shaped is that they, have all these cool powers of animals, whether it's more attacks, flying speeds, climbing speeds, lots of cool stuff. But one thing they can't do is they can't speak, because they gain the languages of the animals, which are usually nothing. Enter the Telepathic feat. This is great for druids anyway, because you choose a mental stat, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. We would want wisdom, because that's our spellcasting. And you gain the ability to speak telepathically to other creatures. So even when you are in bear form, you don't have to grunt at your friends. You can just telepathically talk to them. They can't telepathically talk back, but considering that you probably can hear and understand them anyway, that doesn't really matter. It just gives you the ability to communicate while you're in animal form. Also handy if you're being a scout, you're wild shaped into a tiny creature and you're moving in. As long as you're within 60 feet of your friends, you can communicate messages to them. The other thing you get from this is the spell Detect Thoughts. You can cast it once for free, and you can cast it with your spell slots as normal, which is a bit of a niche spell, but it certainly can come in handy. And, if the intimidation of turning into a giant dire wolf or a massive spider doesn't scare your enemies, you could always just read their mind to see what they know. Okay, let's get a little more niche still. There is a feat which is genuinely one of the funniest and best feats for a druid that I can think of. It is called Chef. And yes, it does make you proficient with chef's utensils if you aren't already, so you suddenly are a better cook. You also gain a +1 to a wisdom or constitution stat, meaning that the two stats druids care about the most, they get a buff to. So that's cool. And then it gives you 2 more powers. 1, during a short rest, you can make a little meal for your friends. You still get the benefits of the short rest, and you feed everybody in your party, giving them extra healing. This is very similar to the Bard's Song of Rest feature, and it stacks with that, so it powers up the short rest more. Furthermore, with an hour of work, or at the end of a long rest, you can also use your cooking abilities to make special treats for your allies or yourself. These treats grant temporary hit points when you consume them, up to your proficiency bonus, which isn't a huge amount of temporary hit points, but the fact that you can do this just for free every time you rest, or every time you just take an hour to yourself, that's actually kind of cool. And you could just hand them out to your friends or eat them yourself, whatever. And honestly, this makes me think of Scooby Snacks from Scooby-Doo. The fact that you could change into a massive wolf, and then one of your friends could just pull out a treat that you made and feed it to the wolf, giving it more hit points. Just peak roleplay and nice mechanical boost. So Chef is just a cool feat, and one that I think would be wonderful on a druid. And then finally, my final recommendation for Druid Feats, the Sentinel feat. Sentinel is a defensive battlefield feature that does a couple really strong things. First of all, any creature that tries to use the disengage action to get away from you, it doesn't work. you can still opportunity attack creatures after they use the disengage action. If you transform into a massive bear and your enemy's like, oh, heck this, I'm out of here, and they try to disengage, too bad. You get to hit them. But it gets better, because when you have the Sentinel feat, if you land an opportunity attack on a creature, their speed immediately drops to 0. Which means that as they try to move away from you, you smack them in the back with your bear claw, and all of a sudden, they can't run. That's massive. That's hugely powerful. And then the last thing this feat does is that if you are next to an ally and a creature attacks that ally, you can use your reaction to do an opportunity attack. It just makes you able to opportunity attack easier. And that whole opportunity attacks reduce creatures to zero speed works in that case too. It's such a cool feat, and the idea that you are this powerful animal standing on the front lines beside your friends, defending them with your reaction, and stopping enemies from running away, this is big. This is a really, really strong ability. And I think that any druid could benefit from this. A moon druid more than most, because they'll be doing this far more often. But the simple fact that you get to ignore disengage an opportunity attack way better and way more often, it's just good for any melee class, and a druid certainly counts as a melee class when they're wild-shaped. So yeah, more speed, more stamina, the ability to speak to your friends telepathically, better battlefield control, and Scooby snacks. These are all wonderful feats that any druid should consider taking when they're about to take their feats, and I think that while it is important to boost your wisdom, make sure your stats are high, these feats absolutely should be strong considerations for anyone playing these special characters. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more feat reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.